All right. What's going on? Welcome back to another Coffee Q&A, your daily dose of coffee Q&A here on the onocoffee channel. We're doing this Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm your host, Jay, and welcome back to the show. It's Friday, January 10th. How's it going? And today we're going to be doing our live stream about something that Naomi asked about. And I thought it'd be great that I would have done it early this week, but then I just realized that I don't have one of these here, so I had to go dig one up out of the storage from the La Marzocco machines. So how's it going? Keone, aloha to you, man. How are things out there in Krongtiep? Things are good, I hope. And all right, so what are we doing? We're doing something called the Naked Portafilter. And the Naked Portafilter is something that springboarded in specialty coffee really probably around 2005, right around 2005. And what it is, it's basically a portafilter that no longer has the bottom and the spout. So as you can see here, we've got, this is the more newer generation. This is the newer generation La Marzocco stainless steel portafilter. Kent, good morning. Maku, how are you? Naomi, yes, I did find it. And so this is a stainless steel. Actually, I have a couple other ones that we can look at here too to review. Now that I think about it, like this. Okay, so here is like an old school standard type of portafilter. As you can see, it's fairly shallow in depth compared to the newer ones, right? This is more of a traditional 7 gram to 14 gram type of filter. This particular one has a single spout, so it's really geared for single shot dosing. And Anton was asked about that in one of the other comments. I think we're going to do an episode one day about working with single shot espresso and seeing how we can make that work, because it's something I really haven't explored myself a lot over the years, but I thought that I would. So this is kind of like where the style of portafilter where it all began. And then by the time that I got in the business in around 2003 or 4, they had gone to this style. This was kind of the prevalent type of portafilter at that time. This is a La Marzocco, and this is a more modern version of this style of portafilter. What I mean by this style, these are cast brass, right? You can see down here, it's a little bit dirty. There's brass in here. This is actually chrome plated. And when it starts, the chrome plating is also on the inside, but it all wears off over time. And this one's not too bad. You can see it's cast bronze, chrome plated, and then they screw in the spout. And the spouts are, they're Loctite in or something, so it's really tight to get in there. It's really difficult to get off. Kenny says, things are great, nice and cool evening, 60s. Oh, this Southeast Asia, this is the best time of the year. Like, it's my favorite time to go to the Philippines is January, February, December. November, December is good, but then the difficulty of the Philippines is that it's so busy because of Christmas. Like, Filipinos are crazy about Christmas, right? Like, they start setting decorations across the country in September in anticipation of Christmas. So, but now is a great time because it's cooler. We haven't reached the summer. Like, I'm sure it's probably the same in Bangkok. Summertime comes around April. Then it gets unbearably hot. And then in June comes the rains. Oh, man. But this time. So if you ever think about going to Southeast Asia, go now. And actually, now is a great time to go because evidently, I was reading an article yesterday, airfare is falling from the United States to Asia. So right now, I think it was like a US to Japan is right around $1,100, which is fairly a good price to fly to Japan or Asia over the last 15 years. That's a fairly good price, I think. Kiri says, I saw you using Riedel stemware. You should try Zalto. Big difference. Oh yeah, you see, the hardcore, the serious guys use that, right? Like, it's like what I found in this Festool world. There's Festool, right? And Festool is all like super nice. And then the serious cats use a brand called Mafel. And Mafel is like a whole nother step above Festool. You're like, oh, how do I get to be one of those people? I think Zalto is like that, right? It's like, how do I get to be one of those people? But I'll try to find that. That sounds good. I'll try that. The problem is I'm not drinking as much wine as I should. Again, for me, it's like I'd be drinking alone. And I don't know, but I sometimes think that the idea of sitting there with a Magnum of the Chateau de Beaucastel is all by yourself is kind of sad. There's a little bit of sadness to that. So, anyway, we got this portafilter, and this is kind of, like I said, this is kind of where I came into the business. This is how it was. Now, prior to this update, modernization of this particular portafilter with this contoured rubberized handle, they also had handles like this, right? Those were the two main handles. I think I might have some other samples of handles. Let me have a look here. No, nothing really. Oh, but you can see in this one, I'll show you this one. This is another La Marzocco of this era. And as you can see in here, you can see that the coating is still intact. This is a brand new one. Like I've never used this one. This one, or maybe I've used it once or twice, but these are some of the backups. But as you can see, after a time of using it, you're cleaning it and cleaning it. The inner layer, for whatever reason, was out faster. I guess because it's always being attacked by the acidity of the coffee. Curie says, I just booked a ticket to Salt Lake City for the tattoo convention in March. Round trip from BKK was $1,100. See, yeah, I think that's a good deal, right? But you're out there, you travel. I mean, that's fairly good, right? Is this the same one you went to last year? Are we already in a year? Gosh. How do we slow down time? So anyway, we've got these are the portafilters, right? And then now we've got this modern style of portafilter that has stainless steel that is cast and molded but machined. And it's all stainless, so there's no tarnishing or wearing out of the interior, right? And it's always going to be stainless. And it has this nice removable spout. And this lip here keeps it nice and level, right, when you're tamping, so it doesn't rock. Like if you have these type of portafilters, or especially these portafilters, you can see that the I don't know, the concavity, the convexity, or whatever you call it, is a little bit more heavier here and less there. These, when you're like tamping, can roll a little bit or slide off a little bit easier, I guess because of the slope. I never had too much problem with that, but they started doing this so that it wouldn't roll so much. And I think part of this development came out because of this. And so the Naked Portafilter is something that around 2005, not Steve Davidson, but something Davidson from what do you call it? From Zoka, who worked at, oh my gosh, like, were they working at Zoka, and they were like, how can we, for some reason they thought about cutting off the portafilter bottom. I think because they could see what was happening. And they were Chris Davidson. So Chris and them are all friends of mine. And so we were all talking about it. They're like, yeah, man, you should try this. I was like, what? Cut this off. And this is the actual first one that I ever made. Like, I only made one. I've had two. One that I made, one that was machine manufactured, and I didn't grab that one. But I grabbed this one because I think this is the more interesting one, because this is something, if you really decide you want to do it, you can do this at home. And what I did is I took this portafilter, I took it to Home Depot. I took it with me. I took it to Home Depot, and I went to find a hole boring saw blade, right? You know the ones you'd use for like hole boring, not the spade bits, but the ones that are they're like a metal shaft, like a metal, and then you just kind of drill. It's got teeth around it, so it drills a hole. And so what I did is I took that, clamped this down somehow. Yeah, I think I drilled it into like a board, put some screws here, like that. And then I took the drill, I put the boring thing on the drill, and I just slowly went away, and I just basically found one that would fit this size, right? Just fit this size. And I just slowly drilled it away. And of course, it left a very rough jagged edge. So I took a file and just filed it down. Now, if you look closely at it, I am not, one thing about these older Lumber-Zucco portafilters, they're actually got stiff springs that makes it harder to take out. Okay, there we go. And as you can see here, let's zoom in a little bit more. Oh, yes, the same one. The fare is good. Okay, great, great. Peter, how are you, man? How are you doing? Are you still in Malaysia? As you can see, I've left this dirty. But I did it, and then you just kind of like, file around the side, and it's smooth enough. And now you can see here where, the abuse of the thing over the years, the chrome is flaking off, and you can see the raw brass, right? Now, you could spend more money and buy one that's machined and then nicely done. Like the ones they sell, are nicely machined and they're like recoated, so they're really pretty. But this works. They work the same way because, there's nothing. What you're basically doing is removing any kind of material that would be in between this basket screen and the cup. That's all you're doing. And well, if you do decide to do it, I remember some guys early days, they would actually machine. They actually took it to a machine shop and they basically put it in this, and they put the end mill here, and they milled it off like this, right? However, what the problem was is that they machined it down here, like so. Right on mine, I still maintained this lip, right? This round over here. They machined it above that round over. So what happened for them is that the basket would, the actual physical metal here would be higher than the basket. So the basket would actually extend below this, the portafilter itself, right? The basket, which I think they thought was a great idea until they had to use it, because the moment you put it down, you would be putting it on the basket to temp. And the moment you leveraged on it, it would pop off, which made it very difficult to use. And so if you decide to machine your own, just make sure you maintain the original profile or depth of your portafilter so that the basket will seat completely. And why did I put that back in there? I don't know why I put that back in there. But anyway, what I wanted to do is I left this dirty because I wanted to just go over our methodology of cleaning these portafilters. It only takes a few minutes. So we've got our portafilter. It's dirty. It's been sitting around for the last couple of years, hasn't been used. And we're going to take a little container. Right, here's our container. And what we need is some OxiClean. You know me, I like OxiClean. OxiClean unscented. This is the box from Costco. Look at this. This is years old. Like I'll never go through this in my current state over the next probably 10 years. That's why I need to open another shop so that I can start using it again. So I'm going to take a little bit of OxiClean. And, I'm actually kind of like, I never really measure, but that's way too much. But we're going to use it all anyway because, OxiClean is good. And I've got some water that has been heating or had been heated. So you just want some hot water. It doesn't have to be boiling. We would use very hot water at the shops, but you basically take it. And then we'll put our dirty portafilter in here. We'll put the dirty basket in here. And we'll just make sure it's all down there. The water will get around it, even though they're kind of touching. And just pour it and fill it up. And we're just filling enough to cover our parts. We don't really need to get it onto the rubber, just to cover the metal. And as you can see here, it's already doing its magic, right? Now I have put a very, very high concentration, so it's quite rapid. It looks quite violent, which I like. Oh, that's the wrong basket. I need to put this basket in there. Oh, well, we'll put it all in there. Should I put, I won't be able to fit this in there. All right, so we're just going to let that do its thing while we babble on about other things. Put that on the side. One thing you do want to watch out for, though, depending on how much you put in and how much water and the size of your vessel, there is a lot of effervescence happening here, so it could spill over. Actually, it's increased in volume quite a bit. It might spill over now, like if you see here, it's all like, and it's still growing. I think it's going to roll over. Look at that, it's climbing. Oh yeah. Now, if we can get closer to it, right? If you look here closer, you can see the activity that's happening, and you can see that the water is already tarnished with a brown color. So it's doing its job. It's extracting. I'm going to put this in the sink so I don't have too much of a mess to clean up. Oh, some of it did spill. All right, so if you have questions about this portafilter, let me know. We're going to be going over how to use it and all that today. But why are you using the Naked Portafilter? Here's the thing. So the Naked Portafilter is, I think, an excellent tool. However, it may not be the tool that you want to use, because no matter how experienced you are, the Naked is ruthless. It will expose all of your weaknesses. It will tell you if you truly are a charlatan or not, right? And this is why I think that maybe it's not a good idea to use it a lot of times, right? Because here's the thing. When you have a portafilter like this, a regular portafilter, this is the bottom, right? The bottom is here. It collects all the coffee and puts it down this one little hole, which then sends it to this spout and then splits it off. And it looks lovely. It looks really pretty. You're doing a great job, right? It comes out. You're like, your friends are looking at you. They're like, whoa, dude, you really know what you're doing, man. Look what's going on over there. But the moment you take this bottom piece off and expose the basket to the world, that's when havoc can be wreaked upon your world. Because now what happens is that the basket or the portafilter contains any errors that you made, right? Your sins can be hidden from view. But without the shroud of the portafilter, you're exposed. So if your distribution or tamping is poor, you will know within an instant that it's poor, and you're like, oh. And not only will it be, so typically how that happens is that you'll start to see spraying jets coming in all kinds of directions, depending on how poorly you did your job, right? And you might be able to, if there were just one stream kind of off to the side, you might be able to stand a little bit so that your buddy can't see you or can't see the stream as well. Maybe you can obfuscate that neglectful error. But when you start to get more, but the problem is that it typically starts to stream everywhere, and then it gets on your cup and starts to striate the cup, and it's like, and now it's compounding. It's compounding itself and exposing your rubbish approach to making coffee, which is a very distressing thing to do, right? So, all right, I think we've seen the effervescence of our coffee slow down enough. Let me just power up this other camera. For today, I set up a couple more cameras so that we could see what's happening here, and I'm going to bring this around here. We're going to come here, and I've got the action cam, the floor cam now. And of course, I still have this from last night's live stream. I haven't cleaned that. So now it's mostly clean. It could be a lot cleaner. All right, if we let this sit longer, it would clean more. But we're not going to do that. We're going to go on, and I'm just going to run some cold water. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks terrible. Look at that. Like I said, the Naked exposes all of your fallibilities. And as it's doing here, it's showing that, man, this is a dirty, dirty, dirty portafilter. Has not been cleaned in a while. Exposing me for the charlatan that I am. I just hide it with a YouTube channel. Okay, so that's fairly clean. But this is not so. We're not so worried about this because this this no longer will touch the coffee, right? There's nothing about this portafilter that touches the coffee anymore. Not like in its original state. So let's grab. All right, that's good. We have our baskets. So as you can see here, this is the the VST basket. This is the stock Marzocco basket. You can kind of see the different Can you see that, or is it focusing? It's not focusing. Never mind. Silly camera. Most expensive camera I have, it won't focus. Who could tell? Okay, so here, like I said, the La Marzocco standard, old school, with the big, you can see the big perforations where this is the VST. So definitely a big difference there. Naomi says, I get feel goods in my soul when I see the coffee coming out of the Naked Portafilter. Oh, yes, absolutely. And I mess up all the time, but I still prefer it. That thing, it might need a 24-hour soak. That is a very true, possibly true statement. So we've got our portafilter. Let me just wipe it up a little bit here. See. So there it is. And basically you've got this nice portafilter now. And this is what exposes you, right? There's nothing to hide. So now we're going to go and pull a shot and see what is not hidden from view, right? Let's see, how's our angle up here? Okay, there's our angle there, good. So we're gonna put this in here, and we don't really need, because we're no longer need to worry about heating this as much, well, we'll give it a little bit of heat. Okay. Now we need to grind coffee. So let us grind coffee. Let's grind coffee. And we need to dry this out a little bit more. We're just going to go straight. We're not going to do any of the purging that we normally do. Okay, so here is our shot. As you can see, the boulder, there's a boulder here. And it's kind of got this nice Vesuvius kind of looking thing here. But for the most part, overall, it's fairly well-rounded the way that it fell into the portafilter. It's not necessarily got valleys in there, right? It's all pretty much sloped up and looking fairly nice. So we're not going to worry too much about issues there. We're just going to kind of give it a little bit of, actually, let me go up higher. Go up here so that way I can just make sure that I'm just making sure that it's centered now, because I think this distribution is fairly good, and distribution is really what's going to show the issues for your Naked Portafilter, right? So here we go again, go down here and tamper, right? So we can't see that. Hang on, let me just adjust. I will adjust so you can see the tamping going on at a better angle. So here we are, we got this. And now I'm just going to place it, I'm just going to place this on the bottom and just tamp. So again, like I use opposing fingers here, as you can see. Right, so I'll go around to make sure that it's even all the way around. And if there's any kind of variations, I will, use my fingers to adjust. This is fairly well evenly distributed. There's a little bit of stuff in there. Come back now with a full temp pressure, a little bit of a twist, and then that's everything. So we're just going to wipe off the wings Make sure that the rim is clean. Now, one thing you want to do when you're wiping off the rims, I try to be a little bit. This is exaggerated, but try to be a little bit curved here, so you don't want to go down. You don't want to have it like concave. You don't want to make your fingers concave because you might actually touch the surface, and then you might cause more problems. But that's pretty much the way that it looks. Before we go in, we're going to flush it out. And okay, so we're going to do a little bit different. I'm not going to go as fast because I want to get the angle in here first. I'm going to lock it in. Let me take this camera off of the stand. Okay, we're going to come down here. Is that focusing on that? Will it focus on that? Come on now, baby. All right. Now I'm going to hit the brew button. And then now we're going to drop the cup underneath. So you can see it's kind of swirling down. Oh, there's a little bit of, there's things shooting. Oh, so there's a little bit, you can see this falling here, this extra water. This is actually a problem with the gasket seal. Oops. So that's I'm all looking and not paying attention to the shot. So we're a little bit longer of a pull. I didn't really pay attention to the pull because I was looking more at the basket. But as you can see, there's the basket after the shot. Right, okay. Our shot is right here. Not so gorgeous, not so gorgeous. Too full. A little bit too full. Oops. Color is not too bad, but it is a very long shot. I'm expecting that we're going to have maybe some brighter tones, maybe some over extraction. Or should be over extraction. Yeah, that's not pleasant. That is nowhere near the coffee we had last time. Anton says, looks like I just turned on at the right moment. Yes, you did. Welcome to the show. Now we're going to use we did use the Naked Portafilter. Vesuvius-looking coffee mountain. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Better than Devil's. All right, so let's have a look now at the portafilter itself, like we always do. So this is that was not a pleasant shot. Astringent, a lot of bitterness, no body. Yeah, no, that's not what we like. That's not what we like. Okay, so here is the portafilter. You can see the impaction of the dispersion screen. So it looks fairly clean. It looks really nice, actually. I think it looks very nice. Right? Let's see about, it's fairly good. It's a little bit on the soft side. I would like to see it a little bit harder. Yeah, it could be a little bit more structure, probably a little bit light as far as quantity of coffee, I would guess. Maybe when I did the swipe off of Vesuvius, it was a little bit too much of a swipe. And actually, that's something I thought at the moment was that I probably swept too much. Now let's have a look here at the basket. So the basket, fairly clean, a little bit of this oil here. So maybe we were not really over extracting too much. So interesting. Peter says, Kieran, I've cleaned and removed the filter above in the group head in many old machines when the hot water comes out. Most are never cleaned in years. Oh, did I miss something did I miss a comment from Kieran? Oh, there. Oh, yeah, Kieran says, reminds me of a friend of mine that didn't know that you could take the basket out of the spouted portafilter. Yeah. It happens. It happens. Yeah, and Peter, definitely has seen some of that dirty. Yeah, Anton went way too fast. I totally agree. Mary says, I don't drink plain espresso, so most of my mistakes can be covered with my oat milk latte. And I hear you on that. I definitely hear you on that. But I also think that a lot of operators we would talk, or people that I meet, and they're like, you can just, if you're making a flavored latte, no big deal. Or people would like buy lower quality coffee for a variety of reasons, maybe because they're mixing with other flavors and stuff. But I've always been a big believer of, you want the best quality coffee, even if you're doing like a sweetened iced caramel latte, because that flavor of the coffee will still show through. And if we think about our visit to Einstein Brothers a couple weeks ago, where we had the iced caramel latte, that coffee was so difficult that it just overshadowed everything. Like I don't believe that you can put enough cream and sugar to truly you can make something palatable, but not necessarily enjoyable. I think. So that's why at Spro, we always try to take good care to make, even though we're offering vanilla latte or mocha, we always want to make it as good as we could be, because everything matters in that cup, right? And if we look here, actually the crema looks, at this moment, the crema is looking fairly nice. I'm actually surprised. Anton says, I found decent channel, and there is actually a lot of valuable info on dosing espresso. Like, for example, leaving much headspace with a soupy puck actually leads to higher extraction. Ah, interesting. Marcus says, Anton, now that would be a coffee mound that would make wait, good cookie. Kerry says, he was both surprised and embarrassed that he was serving his family and friends espresso from, oh my goodness. Well, as long as you learn and move on from that, that's always a good thing. Okay, so let's go back and do another round with this. We're going to flush this group head and start again. Give it another try. See if we can see what we can see, right? By the way, when we were pulling that last shot for the camera looking up, could you see well enough? Like, was there enough light exposure? I'm going to try to hold the camera better, but as long as you could kind of see what's happening, that's really the important part, right? Okay, so let's go here. Come back, we're going to flush. And one of the things when you're doing this is that you can now look here and see how clean did you actually get your basket. As you can see up here in the upper left-hand corner, right around the 10, 11 o'clock marker, you can see a little bit of oil. Right? See it right there? There's a little bit of oil right here. We want to make sure that when we have this, now we can totally get it as clean as we possibly can. And I always put it back in, right? Like I remember we talked about this over the time. We put it back in because there's always water that's going to be under here. I just do it again because that's kind of habit. I've already built that habit in. And so I will always do that. But when you have this, you don't necessarily have to do that because there really is no reservoir holding back water. Look at that, all dirty, all dirty. This is what I don't like about making espresso at home. It gets very dirty. Okay, so we've got here. And how's our angle? Okay, so we're gonna grind more coffee. This is where I think, do I need to put a little bit more? This is probably just enough, right? This is probably just enough coffee for me to use. Actually, we'll just use this. We'll try this, okay? Maybe I feel like, okay, so here's a potential problem. So as I swept around, right, there's a divot, right? Oh, gosh. There's a divot right there on the right at the 3 o'clock position, right? So we'll need to address that. One of my technical problems on this end is that I'm using a fairly large camera on my small tripod, so it's not quite well balanced and to compensate for that. But this is something here that we want to now make sure that we would want to come around. Oh, let me look over here. You can probably see a little bit better. Right, you can see that right there at that bottom of the side of the portafilter facing you at the moment. What we want to do now is to sweep around and make sure that we get coffee in there. Come back. Now, in this case, I'm going to leave it kind of like a half Devil's Tower, or maybe more like Krakatoa, because I want to now try to keep as much of this coffee in, because I am, at this point, a little bit concerned that this might be a little bit too low volume or weight-wise. So let us come back here. Look at this. It's all like shallow depth of field and cinematic looking. I feel like a YouTuber now. Okay, so we're just going to drop this on here like this, right? And then use our fingers just to go around, make sure that it's all even. Come back, temp, twist, and then clean off. I would normally sweep this all into a basket, but since I don't have one here, I don't have one here. Okay, so let us get ready for the shot. Come back. Oh yeah, I'm going to take this off here. Okay, hold on. Okay, now we're going to come here. We're going to flush a little bit. We're going to lock and load. Make sure that's nice and tight. Okay, we're ready to go here. Switch the cameras back. See if we can get nice and tight in there for you to see. Come on now, focus, baby. Okay, now we're ready to go, and let's brew. This one looks a lot nicer, a lot tighter, a lot more syrupy, and we're looking for a flutter. No flutter. We're just going to stop there because we've got a lot of volume happening. Okay, we're going to hold there so you can see what happened. I'm going to have to watch this on the replay. It's a little bit long. You can see a little bit of blonding starting, right? There's a little bit of blonding happening right there in the 10 o'clock position. But that looks fairly nice, huh? We do have some bubbling, right? The burbujas is here, right? Will it focus better? Yeah, there we go. See the bubbles? What we like to do is we like to get rid of those bubbles simply by tapping them. So if you ever came to Spro and you saw us tapping the cup, that's exactly what we're doing. But look at this. We've got some nice reddish brown flecking happening there. Wow, that's, even though there's a little bit of this blonding here, this is a very pretty looking espresso here. All right, let's go here and overhead camera. Naomi says, I didn't say I enjoyed my mistakes, but still drinkable. Very good. Well noted, well noted. Maybe not as robust flavored as I would typically like. Well, that's true. You know, even for myself, like if I'm making espresso for myself or at home, whether I'm home or at, let's say I was at the shop making a shot for myself, if I mucked it up, I'd still drink it because, you know what, I'm kind of cheap. I'm like, I don't want to like waste it. Like for a guest, we would dump it, but not for myself. I would not. Peter says, if you make a mistake in making a drink, just call it by a new name. Oh, good. I like that. Anton says, I found smaller ratio tastes better with milk drink. Okay, for the medium dark roast, perfect. And then it is hard to trick yourself there. And then Neil says, my lattes are stronger tasting than Starbucks. I can't taste the coffee in theirs. I'm going to try the new cortado, which I'm sure you made the cortado the next time I stop. Yeah, you know, that was actually, I thought the cortado that we had yesterday was very well balanced. It wasn't heavy pronunciation of the espresso, but it was a balanced, enjoyable, it was an enjoyable beverage. And Anton says, you want to get on, I kind of like this. I kind of like the results of this. Look at that. What does blonding in a particular spot mean? The blonding is just really, to me, an indication of the coffee telling us that it's pretty much done. Like you have reached the point of extracting all that the coffee has to give at that time. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be great. It just means that there are the right amount, all the good solubles, the ideal solubles have come out. That's the best way that I would describe it. All right, so we've got some nice coloration. Like I think it's gotten darker in the last couple moments. So let's have a taste. There's a creamy, smooth character to it. It's different than the other day, whereas this has this, the first sensation that I get is a little bit of brightness, but then smooth creaminess. Like we talked before about how the Guatemala, the Huehuetenango SHB had this cocoa powder character. It has that texture. It's what I would describe as creamy, but with the texture of that cocoa powder. The body is a little bit thinner than the last time we pulled this coffee. I mean, the other day. But still fairly nice. Not as good as that one shot that we had. Like that one shot was truly something special. This is very nice. This is very nice. And you can kind of see here, it's got good lingering. It's not, the structure and the lingering isn't as good as that other day. Like this is probably the process that you have, like in your lifetime of drinking coffee, you have the one or two, there's the few times that you have espresso that are truly like exemplary. And then the rest are kind of like good, enjoyable, but not to that level. Oh, that one, a little bit more astringent. Could be better, could be better. I think we need a little more coffee. Here we go. I don't know what I said. It's just the language is like that. The language is like that. Does it mean that there's channeling? No. So so channeling, okay, the blonding comes. How do I normally describe this? So basically you've got the coffee, right? And the coffee has all of its solubles or whatever comes out of it, right? You put the water through it, and the water is what dissolves those solubles into it or absorbs those solubles into it and then pulls it down into the cup. Within any coffee, there's only X amount of solubles that you want to take out, right? Because to get the ideal flavor or the best flavor from that coffee at that moment. The blonding to me is strictly an indication of the coffee telling you that, okay, this is the right time to stop. Now, when it comes to channeling, there's other things that you can see for channeling that are definitely more apparent when you're using the Naked. And since you use one, I'm sure you've seen the time when you had the shower head streaming happening. Those are really those are the true indications of of channeling. Channeling, if you don't have a Naked Portafilter and just using one of these, you can kind of get the idea of channeling happening in the cup if it has a lot of like brighter notes, like unnaturally brighter notes, right? Or when you look here at the puck. So for example, if we look at this puck, right? Channeling. Oh, now my light is dead. Let me plug it in here and see if we can get some power to it. It will not turn on. So if we look at here, we have this, if we look channeling, we would see on the sides, we would, like blatant channeling would have like little holes on the side of the portafilter. I mean, that's the sides of the puck where it meets the basket. In this case, we don't have any. And in this case, had we had channeling that came through the portafilter, we would actually see that here on the dispersion, on the basket screen, because it would shoot out unnaturally, like little like shower head streams. Oh, the Zap Shot. Oh, I was thinking about with Zap Shot. It really changes how physics. So did you get a Zap gun there, Anton? Peter says, I like a double restrictor, but it's yeah, it's a little bit short on that one. Anton says, I'm going to be careful now and not point at it at electronics. Oh, yeah, that could be. It sends a small shock through the metal parts. How I found out, I held a metal catch cup and shot it from a distance. Oh, yeah. That's why I was going to test it on the live stream, like by shooting myself. And I was like, I did that when I was like 18, and I didn't enjoy the experience. I'm like, I don't need to do that again. But yeah. Well, now that you know, now we have a shared experience. Anton says, I don't want to damage. I don't, well, I don't know. I would surmise that it's unlikely that little shock maybe it could damage your, but why put your grinder in any kind of jeopardy unnecessarily? Peter says, we like brunettes, not blonde. Gotcha. Anton says, but I can use it on coffee, I guess. It makes a difference. Most dark roasts came out faster and clarity was way too high. Oh, interesting. But that was when I went all out and shot everything multiple times. Oh yeah, you have to be a little bit careful. Don't shoot things too much, man. You got to get the right technique and do the side pull, right? Anton says, shaking the grounds actually feels totally different when I use it on the filled shaker before. And so when you say that, are you grinding and then gunning it, or are you gunning the whole beans and then putting it in the machine and then touching at them here? It's so weird. And to be honest, my head also felt a little weird. Try not to do this. That's typically not recommended for your general life experience. Okay, so let's see. Good compaction. This one had more coffee in it, and we could see that, right? A little bit of difference in the way that the shot pulled, right? The way the speed, the way that it came out of the portafilter or the basket was a lot oozier in this one than this one. Right, so that makes sense. Let's get rid of this. And then here, we're not really seeing much oils, maybe a little bit right down here. So not too bad. All right, let's do more. Let's do another one. Okay, so we're going to try this again. I mean, is this helping, illustrating anything in particular for you? Like, does this even make sense? Like, sometimes I don't know. Okay, we've got what camera are we on? Okay, so we've got the basket. We need to clean this out. Just clean it out a little bit nicely like that. Good. And then now we're going to go back to grinding some coffee. Let me just adjust our camera. Okay, there we are. Another thing that I do like about the Naked Portafilter versus the spouted portafilters when using this type of grinder is that when you use the spouted, of course, this notch, this like portafilter rest is notched. So it you can move it around a little bit, and I do. But this one I like because I can really, if we look here, right, you can see at this moment in the middle of the dosing that it's kind of low on this side. I will actually move it around to fill in where I want, depending on how it's going. So like right now, I'm going to pull it back a little bit so that this part here that has the lower part of the mound, the lower valley-ish, I can drop some on there, and it makes it a little bit easier to do your dosing, right? Right, like that. So I just did 2 clicks. And that kind of filled in here, right? So that's just another like advantage that the Naked can offer you if you're using this type of setup, right? But if you're not using this type of setup, then that advantage is not necessarily an advantage, right? Okay, so we've got our thing here set nicely focused. Okay, so it's a little bit lower here and a little bit more mounded. Right, there's a little more mounding here, a little bit lower here. So I'm actually going to come and sweep this way and then come around, because I'm not trying to sweep it off. I want to just all contain it. And then come around here, come around. And hopefully that will be enough so that when I use the C plus temper or the C something temper, it's going to compact everything and slightly push it out to the edges. I don't know how it looks on your end, but looking at the camera's monitor, this is actually a really pretty camera. Okay, so now we've got it nicely even all the way around. I'm picking it up to grab a nice hold on it. And then we're going to temp, twist to polish, right? So we get a nice polish on it. And then knock out or just like drop out any of the excess grinds, wipe off the wings again, wipe off the rim, and then now it's time to brew. So I'm going to flush the group head. Now we're going to reset and come here for our, maybe I'll just put this down. Maybe I put it down like this and like that. Well, is that enough? Is that enough view to see? No, maybe get closer. Let's get closer. Gotta come off of here. Set focus, there we go. Come in on it. Yeah, try to make that nice and tight. Hit the brew switch. Get our cup. Ooh, that looks fairly decent starting out. Look at that nice reddish brown crema coming from the filter. We're not seeing any showering, so that's really good. All right, we'll stop there. I'm not really stopping very well because I'm not really paying attention. Well, I'm not paying attention enough to the shot itself. But the color in this camera shot looks quite nice. Oops. Turn down this. Let me iris up a little bit. There we go. Nicer. That's nicer. Okay. So nice quality looking shot there. Like nice crema. There's a little bit of bubble. Get rid of that. Right. Looks fairly good. Okay. So let's have a taste. Let's have a taste. Nice. Thinner body than, now suddenly I'm referencing the other day where we had the really fabulous shot. These are not to that level. These are nice shots. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, look at that. This is in my book, this is a beautiful looking shot. Like that is just like sexiness. Like if a girl, if my girlfriend served me this, I'd be like, oh my God, let's get married. But you know, but the taste is not, and that's not to say the taste isn't good. It isn't enjoyable. It isn't maybe great. It's just not the one we had on Wednesday, which was truly the exemplary example of this coffee. We're just not there. I don't know why. And maybe that's because I'm not paying as close attention as I would to the different variables, because I'm trying to be a little bit more conscious about what I'm shooting so that you can see what's happening better. I think that probably has something to do with it. Anton says, but my shot up decaf pour over tasted much more amazing than usual. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're finding good value with this shot. And how much did you end up paying? Is it also about $100 in Europe? Anton says, there's a chance you will have less leakage if you dose a little less to leave more headspace so you can lock it in better. Okay, well, we'll try that. We'll try that. We'll try that. We'll try that the next one. The only thing is that when we use less coffee, we're going to have less. We'll have less quantity, and depending on how it pulls, we probably want to go finer, right? But we'll give it a try for one more round and see what happens. On my friend's Gaggia Classic, you wouldn't be able to lock that in at all. The shower screen on that hangs super low. Yeah. I mean, definitely different machines will have different ways. Like this one, this E61 is fairly good in that respect, but on the Lombrosoco, it's a little bit easier. And then depending on the type of basket combination that you're running, that also I found has a different impact on performance. But let's have a look at our puck here and see. Looks all right. Slightly soft. I mean, visually wise, I think that for those of you who like more robust shots, I think that had you been served this, just like especially maybe not this one, and that was okay, but let's say you've been served these two, I think you'd find these to be really lovely shots to enjoy. I'm just kind of marred by my memory of Wednesday. Okay, so let's do one more. We need another cup, though. Let me get my cup. I have more new cups. I have new cups that I'm going to use today that are not really, as far as cup wise, I wouldn't say that these are great cups because, I don't necessarily like the shape of this style of cup, but I thought that, it'd be kind of nice to have, be kind of fun to have. So we're going to get into that in a moment. Busa thought it was beautiful. Thank you, Busa. Anton says at 80 euros, better than us, but still expensive. Oh, better than US, but still expensive. The coffee workplace looks more clean now, though. Just using it once in the morning. So did you must have did you go right away and buy it this week? Because when did we do that? Did we do that Wednesday, or we did that like Tuesday, or maybe Monday? I think we did that early this week. I'm impressed that you got that already. Very impressed. Okay, so let us continue. Let's go back here. I'm going to pull the camera back a little bit. Is it too dark? Oh, it's too dark. Let me adjust the iris again. I run all my cameras on manual mode pretty much, so I can control the exposure better. So it's sometimes in this case, it makes it a little bit more difficult. And this particular camera, I don't use that often, even though it is technically the best camera that I have. So I haven't memorized all of the functionality of it and how to access everything in a snap second. Okay, so we've got our portafilter. It's nice and clean now, right? Nice and clean. So we're going to, Anton says we should grind a little bit less. Okay, we're going to grind a little bit less. It's so difficult to grind less. Like I want to grind what I want to grind. So there's a little bit less here. So I'm going to sweep it around to try to fill that in, right? Fill that in like thus. All right, so there's a little bit of amount. So if we're going to get less than this, I'm going to actually sweep off a little bit of this here, which I think is too little. But you know what? we're going to go for it in the sake of testing and science. Again, we're going to do our little tamping here. Now I can feel that just this portion here, the portafilter or the tamper definitely has sunk farther into the basket than I'm used to. So I can already tell we're definitely maybe closer to 18 grams. Get rid of the stuff there. Come over here now and flush. And let me get the camera out of here. Let's get that on here. So that should be better, easier. It's easier to lock in. Get our cup ready. Oops. Missed the side of the cup. Right, we're just going to stop there. All right, let's come out here. Okay, now we're going to readjust our iris down. See, I made a mistake with that. Anton says, looks like it didn't. Thanks, Anton. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So there's a little blinding there. Oh, looks like a horse. Can you see the horse? I see a horse in there. Yes, I like trying the weird stuff, but I also have the vibration plate. Oh, that's true. Never don't use that. That does mean you always use it, right? Or that you don't. And how old is that portafilter? This portafilter, the portafilter we're using is from 2000. That was like one of the first ones I ever bought. So it's probably 2003. You are not 22 years old. It is not older than you. But that's fine. Nice cup. Thank you. I like the cups. The cups are some of my favorites. I just got these. I got these with the other Kitty-chan cups. I thought they'd be cute. See, that's a problem. I wasn't paying attention, so I totally messed up on. But look, the color is nice. I like the color, the dark crema. I love coffee of this style of crema. Like, I just love that. To me, it just, this to me is, he sees a cat. You see a cat? Oh, I see the cat now. The two eyes. I see this, the snout and the legs of the horse, like the Palomino. Or it could be a wolf, like from the Stark, the House of Stark. But I see it, then you turn it this way. Oh, there is a cat. Wow, that is. We really have devolved on this live stream, haven't we? All right, let's have a taste of this before I get all the shaky camera and everyone starts to get sick. Coffee Cove, what's up, man? How are you? That is where I have a problem. If I use the same amount of grinds as the basket allows, it is too high at mostly the top of the basket when done tamping. Need to grind finer, maybe use less grounds. You know, like different baskets actually will be different. Like, even though they may be double baskets, they may have very dramatic micron sizes, but which I guess at a certain level that's dramatic, right? But they would be very different. Like, let's have a look at this before we start so we can get this over with. So nice, clean, no channeling. We didn't see anything. A little bit softer because we have less coffee, right? So you can see that softness. And nothing really in there. So that's good. Now let me just, ouch, that is hot. Which I shouldn't be surprised because we just use it for brewing. Okay, that's not working. Okay, so these two are double baskets, and they could be these are relatively similar in depth. Now, where they can vary, as you can see, is the way they're stamped, right? So this has a fluted design, right? Or collared design, where this one, the collar isn't as strong. So if we were to presume that this diameter here is the same as the diameter here above this rim here, this is a little bit narrower, right? So this would hold theoretically less coffee than this could hold. So that could be a part of that could be a part of what you're facing. It's just a different baskets will actually technically hold different amounts of coffee or varying amounts of coffee, because even though they're both double shot baskets. Okay, so let's have a taste of our espresso before the crema dies, which is not dying yet, just got a little more brown. Oh. So a little more, the expression is different with the lower quantity of coffee. Still good extraction, I think, overall. Good body, nice mouthfeel. Okay, so with the previous shots, there's a note of brightness, of acidity, but that acidity, that brightness is tight. That's the best way I can describe it. It's tighter. It's a little bit more, it's a bit narrow, robust, more compacted. Where this one, the brightness is lighter, it's airy, it's more expressive. Right? Like it's kind of like this one, the brightness is like, with this one, the brightness is kind of like, this is the best way that I can describe that at the moment. It's not to say that this is better. It's just different. It's a different way of expressing the coffee. A little bit more brighter tones, a little bit more citrus fruit, or perhaps maybe not necessarily citrus fruit, but maybe more. If this is kind of like darker, like blackberry kind of characters where the brightness, then this is more like raspberry and character. Not necessarily raspberry flavor or blackberry flavor, but quality of acidic character or bright character. Coffee Co would say that says that my grandma would do that with clouds. Oh yes, with looking for shapes and objects in the. Actually, this is the first time I've ever thought about, like, it just looked very horsey to me at the moment. Peter says, you serve me coffee in a Hello Kitty cup. How can you not like kawaii? That's just not right. That's not right. Now he says, so random, you liking Hello Kitty. Yeah, I've always been I've actually been more of a Kiro P fan than Hello Kitty. But, I spent, my girlfriends in the past have loved Hello Kitty. My nieces have all loved Hello Kitty. So I've been around Kitty-chan for many, many years now. She's just part of the daily fabric. Like, I even found this thing in Japan. I think I got it at the Tokyo Hands or something. But you know how, I got it from my toolbox, but I never put it in my toolbox. But you know how, like, you can buy these, like, sticker-like things, but they're basically like molded plastic that have chrome plating for, you can put them, people put them on their cars, like they want to put like turbo, or you can put them on I bought mine from my toolbox, but it's this like Hello Kitty in like chrome plated raised like lettering that I think has a bow on it. And I was like, oh, that'd be kind of fun to put on my toolbox. I never put it on. It's just sitting on, I think it's sitting on my desk over there. It's kind of fun. It's fun. It's nice to have a little bit of whimsy every once in a while, I think. Anton says, turn around and press on the bottom. Easiest way to get it. Oh, that's true. I'm so used to coming from the top. I don't like to go in from the bottom. Coffee Co says, I see. Oh, yes, about that. Yeah, I mean, that would be my thought on it. Thinking about it off the cuff. Right. I mean, again, but back to that thought about how much to use and grind settings. But I think the important thing is to let taste be the guide, right? Like, does it taste great to you? I mean, each of us ostensibly are making espresso or coffee, mainly for ourselves, right? And so, how does it taste to you? Like you can, like we'll use things like references, like from people that we might know or places we might go, as references for how the coffee may taste. And hopefully, if you're going to a coffee shop or some place and trying coffee there, and hopefully they're doing it at a good level, so that you can have a reference point. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's really about how does it taste for you, and are you enjoying the coffee that you're preparing? And if you are, I mean, to me, that's the whole game, right? It's, as long as you're enjoying coffee for yourself. As an operator, as a professional, it's different because I have to it's partially different. Partially for me, it's like we're making coffee, like at Spro, we make coffee to the way that I think coffee should be, right? It's very specific to what we think coffee is about. And we present that to the larger world. And some people agree and some people don't, and that's perfectly fine. But as a home enthusiast, or just as a person, like as long as you're enjoying it, that's great. That's it. That's it. Like that's why I like when people talk about like their coffee predilections and what they like, what they don't like, or what they love, and it doesn't align with what I think is good. It never bothers me. It's like, yeah, you like that. If you like Folgers, well, God bless you. Keep on going, man. Because one nice thing about if you love Folgers, one nice thing about Folgers is that it is unlikely to go out of business at any time in our lifetimes. So, good hunting. Asian devs with us, what's going on, man? Yeah, can't take life too seriously. We all need some kawaii in our life. We always need some kawaii. I think so. I got the little cup set here of Hello Kitty, of Kitty-chan. This one has 4. So unlike the others, the cup set that has the different characters, that has Kuromi and Keropi and the pink one. This one just has Kitty-chan, but she's wearing different bows in each one. Very cute. All right. Peter says, I'm more of a Godzilla guy. Yeah, I get that. That destruction thing, I totally get that. Anton says, can't put sugar in the coffee, so have to put it somewhere. Exactly. This brings a little bit of happiness. All right. There it is. That's a little bit about using the Naked Portafilter. Hopefully this gives you some insight into the Naked Portafilter and whether or not it might be something for you. I should have tried to do more. I should have tried harder to make it so you could see the showering, but I didn't think about that until just now. I was like, maybe I should have done more showering. Is it worth it to buy? Maybe. Anton, I think for you, definitely, because you like to play with different tools. So it's good to have in your arsenal. But what does it offer you as a home enthusiast is it just offers you a method of seeing errors that you need to correct in your shot pulling with immediacy. Like if you do distribution poorly, you will see that with there'll be no question. Like it'll just be shooting out randomly, and you're like, what is going on there? And you're like, okay. And then, but what does that mean? So if you start to see it shooting out of a spot, kind of just mentally note that spot as you're watching the shot fall. And then that's why we look at the puck. Look at the puck. Can you see a hole there? Just try to memorize that area. Then the next time you go, just make sure you look at the way that your coffee falls, and then work on your distribution more. And I know a lot of you guys are doing the spinning, and I don't know, maybe the spinning is just easier, maybe it's just less. But I mean, I've always done it this way. So there's a lot. I like the the tactile feel as well as the visual understanding of how the coffee falls. Plus, you're also like, I think it just gives you a deeper understanding of your coffee. So if you work on distributing it by yourself, it's going to be difficult, right? Like when I started distributing coffee, it was difficult, like to get it right. Like there would be channeling, and because we got these fairly early on, right? Like I said, in 2005, I think, maybe it was 2004. But you start to see the channeling right away, and you're like, man, I got to work more on that. But I think if you use something like this, it will help you and you use more manual techniques. I think it will help you learn the coffee, understand the coffee, and over the longer term, pull better quality shots of espresso. Okay, does that make sense? Anton says, "Well, I already have bottomless." Ah, cool. I shouldn't even thought you hadn't had it. It is my preferred method. Nice. More cleanliness because the spouts in my spouted suck. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry. They overshoot. The spouts overshoot? Oh, I guess maybe they're too far out. Is that what it is? Yeah, that's right. Now that you mentioned that, when I started the business, there's another style of portafilter from La Marzocco that preceded this version where they were like this, and I think those are really designed so that you could really easily break up the two shots underneath the spouts. That was a big thing, like in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. But in my era, it was always like, we're just going to put them all together. Maku says, the thumbnail for this episode has to be in Kauai. Oh, yeah, we're going to have to rechange that. Anton says, they're not too far out. The shape is not good. Oh, okay. Even with slow shots, the liquid is, catapulted. Wow, catapulted. That's quite dramatic. And did you get the Mora yet? Coffee Cove says, football talk for a second. Go Ravens tomorrow. Ravens. At least the Ravens play like the old Browns more than the new Browns do. The old Browns. Yeah, old Browns fan here still, though it's hard. Yeah, I hope you don't hate the Ravens too much. I know you're a Browns fan. I guess technically we did steal your team, but really blame that on Indianapolis, because had Indianapolis not been so greedy, those Hoosiers, we would not have had the cascade of events. But the nice thing about, at least the one takeaway from that, perhaps, is that you still have the Browns. You still have your legacy. We had to start our own. But yeah, tomorrow, the Ravens, if you're not familiar, Ravens is Baltimore's home team, NFL football, made it to the postseason, the first wild card game against our hated arch rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's not a rivalry. It's a true hatred. Like it's a guttural, well, it used to be, at least back 10, 12 years ago, it was truly a guttural hate. Like you just hated Pittsburgh. You just wanted to see the Three Rivers just overflow their banks and wipe out the entire city because there's just such a deep disliking for that place. It's just, but that was when the teams were really good. Like the Steelers back in like the 2000s and like into the 2010s were like, okay, let me tell you. Ben Roethlisberger, hate the guy. Hamlin, hate the guy. Polamalu, hate the guy. Hate them with an intense passion. But you know what, man? They were so good that you hate them because they're so good, right? Like I remember there were years with my friends, some people were like, let's say we're in a situation. Ravens are beating the Steelers 42-7. And we're down to the last 2 minutes of the game. If you could have a friend of mine, he'd be like, man, we're going to win. I would be like, you need to be quiet because you never know if there's a team that is going to rally against all the odds and defeat us at the last moment. it's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what really causes the true hatred between the two teams, is because they were so good. They were so awesome that to beat them was like delicious flavor. You're just like, ah. And to be defeated by them was just bitter, bitter, horrible pills. Like in 2010, we were in a game just like this, right? And we were doing fairly well. We're kind of neck and neck. The Ravens Steelers games are typically never like a blowout. They're typically neck and neck, and you're just like, as a Ravens fan, you're just like, this sucks because we just never win by like a clear victory. That's just not on, at least in the times that especially when I was going to when I had seats at the stadium and I was going like every week. Like, it was so stressful. Like, a lot of people like overtime games, right? Because it's like, oh, we get more football. Man, I hated overtime games because it was like, oh my gosh, this is just going to kill me. The stress is killing me. So, but this one game in 2010, we're in the playoffs. We're kind of ahead, just neck and neck. And finally, at the last like 5 seconds of the game, field goal Steelers, and they just beat us at the very last second. I was like, crushed. It was crushing, just like how can I survive the next 6 months until the season begins again? It's just not going to happen, right? You're just like, but then there was an era after that, like through the 2010s, where the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger was getting older, was getting more injured. Then he was getting like, then he finally left the team, and the team had changed. And, while Hamlin was still the coach and still doing well, the team wasn't as strong. So we would beat them. And okay, so there's a novelty to beating them, but the victory was not sweet. Like, it wasn't as sweet a victory, because you know what? It wasn't Roethlisberger. They weren't at their peak performance. They weren't the awesome team that they had always been or had been for the time being. So it was always like a little bit like, okay, we beat them, but we didn't beat them. And that's what we want to beat. Right? Like, it was crazy. Like, we would go there and burn the towels, and we'd buy the towels and put them in a pile and make a bonfire out of them. It was really, really just like hatred, just delicious hatred. Not the kind that we're going to go like, brigandage and storm their castles. Well, we might, but something like that. But did I like I told my we have like, so Anton says, so the spouts point at the cup, okay, but the liquid shoots over it. Oh, so it just kind of and I dislike how it drips after it's done. Bottomless doesn't drip. True. Marrow starts dripping. Oh, it doesn't start dripping the February. Okay. Gotcha. Oh, I did talk about that before. All right. Anton says Coffee Mucker is gonna release a 1+ hour review of Morrow soon, though. Ooh, I'll try to watch that. Naomi says, my husband doesn't like Ravens, but he's watching the game because we all know it's going to be good. Well, who does he like? He's a Steelers fan, isn't he? Or is he some other fan of ill repute? Anton says, yeah, I'm drooling just thinking about it. It's such a sexy machine. And so there's just so much sexiness around here. That's what I like about it. I'm just tired of dealing with the boiler machine, too much waiting for the heating cycles. Oh, yeah. Well, you could just leave it running or put a timer on it and just have it turn on. That's what I do when I prepare for this. I leave the machine off most of the day, but when I do this, usually when I wake up in the morning, I'll come over here, turn it on at least an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours typically before. Coffee Cove says, no, the legacy went with the Ravens as the team moved. When the new team came in, not many new players there for that commandeer. Well, what I mean by that is like legacy, like you still have your record, like you still have the Browns, right? So it's not like the Ravens don't have a history of being a team prior to 1996. Whereas the Browns, even though you guys had to wait a few years, you did have you still kept that legacy of the Browns and the record and all that. That to me is the big. I mean, that's just the difference that I'm talking about. But I do remember I was pretty young. Like was I in high school yet? Maybe I was 8th grade when the team was stolen from us in the dark of the night under snowfall. Anton says maybe, but really needed with a coffee mucker releasing a review. Oh, but is it really needed with coffee mucker releasing a review? They make the most rigorous reviews, including temperature testing. They have it into, oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's, to me, that's like, that's one thing I don't really, like, I'm glad that the people like Coffee Mucker doing this thing, because that's really, I think that's an important aspect of trying to understand coffee machines. And if you want to buy one, I would want to kill myself doing that. Like I tried doing that for a product that I was doing a video for like 4 years ago when I first started, where I was compiling all this brewing data. And I have a whole spreadsheet about it. The Lily drip, I don't know if you know that little like porcelain like triangles you put at the bottom of a V60. And after compiling all this data, I was like looking at it, I was like, oh, this just sucks. I hate doing it. I was like, I hate doing this. Forget that video. I should probably still make it at some point. But all that means is that not that there's no value. I think there's tremendous value. It's just that I'm not the person to do those, to make that kind of data analysis and compilation. Data compilation. Analysis is fine, but compilation is like... Saul Coffee's with us. Good morning. Happy Friday to you as well. Coffee Cove says, our team has not been good since returning, and they do not play like the old Browns. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see. Yeah, not to rub salt on wounds, but I would agree with you. Sorry. What I don't understand with the NFL is why is it that both teams from Ohio are in the same division? Like, that just seems odd to me. Naomi says, you're the moral guy here in the chat. I take your review. Agreed on that. Lance Anton says that Lance will maybe also do a moral review, but it's not certain yet. Okay. I haven't really watched too much of either of those guys' videos. When it comes to technical reviews like that, do you find one is more thorough or more reliable than the other? Maku says the victory had too much blonding. Oh, it wasn't sweet. Oh, I'm sorry. That's too much bonding. Naomi says, my husband Mark doesn't like the NFL. He watches college. Okay. Which college did he go to? Is he a big fan of his own college team? Peter says, I don't understand American football. That's all right. Here's the thing. We have 4 hours of playing, and it works out to about 4 hours. So it's technically 1 hour of play time, but it takes about 4 hours with commercials and stops and all this. We get higher scores than soccer, football. What else is it's kind of a derivative of rugby. If you know rugby, it's derivative. Like, we call it a touchdown. Right? What they call a try, we call a touchdown. But we actually, unlike rugby, where you actually take the ball across the line and then actually touch the ball to the ground in order for it to count, here you just have to carry the ball across the line. That's kind of the base thing. Anton says Coffee Mucker is for sure more thorough when it comes to testing machines, but Lance also highlights important aspects. Also, Lance did more scientific testing on puck prep, etc. Okay, very good. Mark went to Maryland, but he's from Alabama, so he's all about the Roll Tide. The only thing I know about Alabama and Roll Tide really is the movie Crimson Tide. Go Bama, Roll Tide. That's really it. All right. Time for me to rock and roll. It is almost 11:30. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. It's the weekend time, and go Ravens. Beat Steelers. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for today. We'll be back again next week with more of the Coffee Q&A. Thank you very much for hanging out. As always, good to see all of you. Hope you have a wonderful weekend wherever you guys happen to be, whatever you guys happen to do, and see you next time. Kent, good to see you.